Mugume
on 106.1 Next Radio.
One 106.1 Next Radio. This is the Big Talk. Welcome all of you watching in Uganda and around the world. Today on the show, we take a deep dive to the African Youth Crime Prevention Platform that we are officially launching this week. This digital initiative by United Nations Africa Institute for the Prevention of Crime and Treatment of Offenders, UNAFRI. It's a bold new space we'll be having every Friday where we hope young Africans move from just being passive listeners on radio here or X spaces to active change makers in the fight against crime. And today we'll be talking about sex at universities. Is it a crime or pleasure? But I'll unpack that topic in just a bit. I am joined in the studios today by Mnano Andrew Karokora, who is the Acting Director General of UNAFRI. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Kanare. Good evening, listeners and weviewers. We're happy to be here this evening. Thank you.
I'm also joined by John Vianney Ayebade, who is... No. We'll get to him in a bit when he does get here. Yes, he's a legal and research officer at UNAFRI. John Vianney Ayebade, good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers and those listening to us and the audience on X. Thank you very much for having us this evening.
Yeah, Dr. Abbas Agaba, Honorable, the Secretary General of the Afro-Arab Youth Council, will join us in just a bit, so we'll get to him much later on. But for now, I wanted to first give Andrew an opportunity to introduce UNAFRI, just for the benefit of the viewers and listeners who do not know what UNAFRI is and what you do. First of all, you're the only United Nations institution that is hosted in Uganda across the entire continent as we speak. And we'll talk about how many countries you're representing. But for now, what is UNAFRI in the simplest terms?
Yes, UNAFRI is the United Nations African Institute for the Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders. It is the only United Nations institute that Uganda hosts. And it is the only institution, Pan-African institute, that exists in Africa. It belongs to a family of institutes that are called the United Nations Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Program Networks in the world. They are a unit. They are a group of institutes that together form this program network. UNAFRI was formed in 1989, pleaded for by Africa, after Africa had seen that other continents, Asia and the Far East, had the UNAFRI based in Japan. The South America had an institute called ILANO, the Latin American Institute for Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, based in Costa Rica. There was one in Hune in Finland for Europe. So Africa was like, we want a similar institute. So Africa kept asking the United Nations, please also want a similar institute, And eventually, after several resolutions of the United Nations from 79, 89, they accepted. Uganda bidded with other countries and won the bid, and we hosted at inaugural. So we are proud to be the host of this Pan-African Institute.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So from UNAFRI's perspective, what is the clearest legal definition of a criminal sexual activity?
Yes. A criminal, maybe before I go into that nitty-gritty of the criminal, of the ingredients of a criminal offense, I'd maybe like to tell you about our mandate, so that you know how we come into this mix of the criminal offenses. Because by and large, we don't interfere with the member states' criminal offenses, and because the mandate of the enforcement of the criminal elements is usually the mandate of the national government. So for us, usually, largely, our mandate is to train trainers, that is judges, the police officers, the judicial officers, the lawyers, people in the general public, share best practices on the international scene on what is best in the criminal justice system. So by and large, we are not largely focused on the implementation of the criminal offenses, but we are interested. Our mandate is in prevention of crime. So that's the angle element where we come in.
It's what you're focused on.
Yes, what we focus on now, and our I will let my colleague here go into the breakdown of the offenses, what would constitute a sexual offense.
All right. Vianney, maybe begin from there. From a perspective, what is the clearest legal definition of criminal sexual activity on university campuses across Africa?
Sometimes there is a thin line, but definitely a criminal offense is that act which is prohibited by law, and it attracts a sanction. So usually at universities, before I tell you the specific acts, there are factors which push students and other residents at universities. For instance, poverty, because people are poor and they are looking for money to survive at universities. They may be pushed to do some of the acts I'm going to talk about. And then the concept of sex for marks, it has been very notorious and is real. It happens at universities. Either student has been lazy to read throughout the term, and at the time of doing an exam, he wants to pass. So he engages a lecturer, or a lecturer himself wants to take advantage of the students, and many other factors, including peer pressure, alcoholism, drug abuse, and all that. But it's the specific acts, which sometimes we don't pay attention to, they include rape. Rape arises from having sexual intercourse without consent. And because sometimes at university it is a transition stage, people have not yet appreciated at what point is consent given. Because in Africa, sometimes we say a no may mean a yes sometimes, but it's not always like that. So because of that, there arises rape, where there is no express consent. A yes is not given, but someone thinks, perhaps I can proceed and engage in a sexual act. Then the second one, defilement, because as I have said, sometimes there are people who go to the university and they are not yet 18, very few, but they happen. And our laws, up to now, they don't define age of consent as being at university. It is still 18 years. So if you engage in a sexual act and you are still below that, that is defilement. But also, there are others which have especially been evolving, such as the offense of homosexuality. In Uganda, we have an act, and I think many African countries have had such acts passed by their legislatures. Homosexuality, that is sex between persons of the same sex. There are many others, especially, which are aimed at preventing spread of diseases. For example, sexual intercourse with a person when you are aware that you have HIV/AIDS and you don't inform the person, or you do not put measures to protect the person. In other words, you don't use protection. That one is an offense under the HIV Prevention Act. So it is an offense of spreading HIV/AIDS. There are others which, involve spreading infectious diseases. If you know you have a certain disease and you continue to engage in a sexual act, and that act is at risk of spreading a disease, that is also an offense. Those are some of the sexual acts which happen across Africa.
You know how life at campus can be. Don't you find that there's a very blurred line, or how blurred is the line between pleasure and crime in the university or campus social life?
Yeah, because the concept that most people have, especially because in Africa our parents are a little bit strict. So the moment you get a chance to go to university, you think that at that stage you are now independent and you can be able to engage into these acts. But the line blurs where it distinguishes at what point is this a crime or not. Because even when you are mature, because at university majority are mature, they can give consent. Yeah, but at what point is consent given, for example? That is where there is a distinction, Or if it is sex for marks, for example, how can we say now it is a crime? Was there consent between the two individuals who exploited the other?
We go by what the law is saying, and,
absolutely,
and look for what borders
absolutely
a crime.
Absolutely.
All right. Talking about the law now, and the national laws and university policies, I would like to ask you, Andrew, how effective are current national laws and university policies in distinguishing between consensual pleasure, criminal offenses such as sex for marks, and lecturer-student coercion?
Yeah, I think one of the areas in which Uganda has made very good progress as far as elements involving sexual acts are concerned, Uganda has really made very, 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 very good progress. Yes, because I think even going even beyond progress and maybe almost gone to the extreme with, for example, the enactment of the anti-homosexuality law. We even now go to men. If you can forcefully almost rape a fellow man. Yes, as long as it does not consent. And this is usually to so you can see how far it has gone. And in our natural setting, we would not expect that to happen. But it is now, that's how extreme it has come. Then we have gone down to even upgrade. For example, would say defilement, you're having sex with a child below 18. Now we have said that no, even when if you're a person of responsibility, left in charge of a child and you defiled them or sleep with them, then we're calling that aggravated because you're left. So Uganda has really been very responsive, extremely responsive in terms of this being aggressive to protect our young girls and young children.
So it has really tried as a country. Yes,
Uganda has tried as a country. And very many African countries really have tried.
And that's why I want to understand UNAFRI's role here. What is UNAFRI's role in playing, that it is playing in helping African governments harmonize laws on campus sexual offences? One of the things we do as UNAFRI is promoting good practices and sharing peer good practices in this country to another country. So we shall go and tell, for example, study what Uganda has done and tell, and because our role is advisory, we don't command, whatever. So we advise other countries. Tell Tanzania, for example, tell Malawi, or tell Ghana that Uganda does it this way and has succeeded in curbing acts of sexual immorality. From the countries on Africa that you're coordinating, how do you find the scale? Do you find that some countries are really strict, some countries are really a little bit too liberal, some countries are, hesitant in forming these policies?
Yes, of course they are. And in fact, my brother here, Abbas, is here. He will tell us. For example, in most of the Arab North, he will tell us the situation there when we make a comparison and see where some are extremely intolerant to any acts of this gross immorality, how you dress, don't entice, don't. So you'll find that element where some of it is even outlawed. Not to move naked, not to move. Here where maybe some countries are a little bit liberal, which maybe promotes some of these acts. So we shall get a word from Abbas on that, Honorable Abbas, on how other African countries have responded in terms of whatever. But many African countries have responded, for example, to issues of protecting young girls, yes, involving girls at universities. Of course, even campuses, for example, if you go to many of these universities, they have very strict laws or regulations against sexual harassment, sex for marks, any inducement, any acts that constitute trying to induce a student or to promote this immorality constitutes a disciplinary offense, and many lecturers we have seen have fallen victim to some of this immoral behavior and conduct.
Absolutely. Joining us on the show is Honorable Dr. Abbas Agaba, who is the Secretary General of the Afro-Arab Youth Council. Good to have you on the show, Doctor.
Yes, thank you very much, Canary and colleagues. I'm happy to be back to the studio.
Yeah,
really on something largely different to support our young people in their way of engagement. I'm happy to be here.
From a moral and ethical standpoint, how do Afro-Arab culture and religious values view the distinction between consensual sex and exploitative sexual acts at campus?
Very interesting. From the Afro-Arab perspective, you must create a big curtain. Why? In most of Africa, we perceive it differently. The Arab side, of course, African and Arab, largely Africa is both African and Arab. About 2/3 of Arabs in the whole world are on African land. But the Arab cultures are slightly different. They are more strict, they are more protective. A girl should be married when she's virgin. Despite the problems they have gone through, wars and chaos, they have kept to some of those ideals. So when you talk about sex, especially at university, at a young age, Many of them, I'm sure, as they are following, as they are listening in, they are wondering whether this really happens or not from the Arab side.
I'm curious, because of the strict rules in the Arab world, do you find that the sexual offences registered at campus are a little bit lower than the countries you would say are liberal?
You hardly find. You hardly find. It's very interesting. I've been to Egypt. I have been to Libya. I've been to Morocco. All those North Africa. The culture is strict and strong. A girl must be married when she's virgin. Girls will live with their virginity up to about 40 or 50. Some may even die with it if they have not been married. And I think that's really different. The culture is strict. The religion is strict. But when you're talking about sex at campus, I think we are talking about Black Africa largely. Yes, maybe in some they but not as much. In Africa, where we are more, how should I term it? We are more relaxed. Our cultures are freer. A person of 18 years, it's the age of consent. They have the right to take decisions on their own. You are meeting at a university with these are girls or children of 21 years. Yes, they are adults, 20, 21, but they are young. Although the law gives them the right to take decisions. Remember, this child, the student, is about 19, 20 years. They have a lecturer of 25 years. This is a lecturer who finished, maybe they were 23, and then they did their masters, and by 25 they are in class. Now you have a girl of 20, 21, you are being taught by a lecturer of 25. Or you have a boy of 20, 21, being taught by a lecturer of 26 or so. The age gap is not very big. They are actually both young. Now, while they are at university, they are facing new settings. They have freedom, they have liberty. I mean, they have lived in homes. As parents, we have closed them in gates. Go to Nabisunsa, come back, you are in the gate. Go to Chivuli, come back, you are in the gate. They hardly go out. Here they are at university with the right to sleep in their hostel or not, because the parent is not there to see them, with the right to choose their friends. So when we talk about sex at campus, really, from our setting, it's largely our sub-Saharan Africa, our lower countries down the side. Okay, even Western, like most of the countries with whom we have similar settings. But the point I think we are trying to make is, if you want to understand it very well, the laws are there. There's the legal side of the sex at campus. There's the moral side of the sex at campus. And then, is it right that a girl should have sex at 20, 21 because they're at campus? Just because they have a right to decide? Assuming they kept themselves up to the time they get married. What happens? They're also faced with peer pressure. Girls tell you that their fellow girls who have already lost their virginity are telling them, you girl, if you keep your virginity, you will not be married. Men are longer looking for virgin girls. It will also be a problem for you. So these pressures are on. These young people are growing, and I think the discussion we want to have is how do we help them to cope with
there's interesting feedback here on X, on the people who are listening in. And I think this is why this conversation is important. Someone here called Christo Baggy says, because the question was sex at universities, crime or pleasure? So the response from this person says it depends. Student with student is pleasure. Lecturer with student is crime. Student with outside community is survival. but I want to bring Vianney. There's a lot of barriers and fears.
Just a minute. I think you need to still contextualize the discussion so that the followers know how we are dealing with it. Always it will be pleasure, but crime or pleasure, the question is it legal or illegal? Is it consensual or non-consensual? Such that we don't get off the radar. Student to student could be, it's pleasure, yes, but is it consensual or non-consensual? When we're at university, a person would be chasing a girl, and they are not finding chance with this girl. So what they do, they take them out. They mix the alcohol with certain things. I'm told the Panadol would be used for other aspirin. So the girl takes it and she blacks out. So they have the girl for the night. Is it pleasure? You have pleasure, but it's non-consensual, so it's crime. I imagine we must follow this discussion that way, otherwise we may lose it along the way.
Absolutely. Vianney, let me bring you in here. What fears or barriers stop most students from reporting sexual offenses even when they know it's criminal?
A lot of them, which is why we have been gathering experiences across Africa, and I don't know whether our friend from Nigeria have joined already. On the X Spaces, we shall be hearing from them. Nigeria has taken really important steps in ensuring that they streamline and they handle these barriers. But in most African countries...
Is this Tominuno?
Absolutely.
I think she'll be joining in a bit.
Okay. In most African countries, there is poor reporting, guidelines. A student who suffers a sexual offense at university does not know the steps to take. And also, the second challenge is the problem of peer pressure. Because, for example, that person who has just given us a comment, I don't remember his name, you would realize that from that comment, you may think that student-to-student engagement is not criminal at all. So even if someone has perhaps forced you without consent, and you may think now this is a fellow student, no offense committed, and yet it is still rape. Whether you're a student or not, if there is no consent, that still amounts to rape. And then the other challenge is that indeed we have some universities which have policies, but they do not enforce them. In most cases, they want to handle matters privately. So even if a student went to report a matter to, a certain official in the university, they do not want to, let out this information. So a student will suffer and will not even access justice in that manner. And then there is stigmatization. Once someone reports, they'll be like, the entire class, you can no longer attend class because now you'll become a label and a reference.
Yeah.
Everything you say, this one is a wife to the other one, and to the other. Now there is also a challenge of social media. So people fear that the moment I report this matter and then next radio lands on it, it is going to be published, it is going to be all over the news, and my name is also going to be tarnished and all that. So because of the media and the social media and all that, every day we see on social media people sharing pictures, videos, naked images and all that. All that create fear that if it has happened, perhaps I'm better off keeping quiet than reporting it.
Okay, let me...
You can give a scenario. You are the lecturer and the student reports you. What will happen in the consequent lectures in the class? This is a girl student that reported a lecturer that molested her or attempted to get her sex for marks. The consequent engagements in the class cannot be normal. The girl will be stigmatized. They lose the faith in the system because they are not sure that this disciplinary system will also discipline the teacher, the lecturer, to conclude this matter. 3, even your own your own fellow student, that's the one who reports. She thinks she's good. She thinks she's clean, as if the others are doing what? Are doing nothing. It's really the social setting in which we are. The laws, the people, the students don't have a lot of faith in the laws and the procedures, and then that the system can punish the fellow lecturers, and the stigma that you talked about. And then there is what comes with it. The student is practically embarrassed. You are defending yourself, you are defending your rights, but you're embarrassed. And Canary, very few people want to stand up for their rights. Then and fewer stand up for rights of others. A student reporting a case of molestation, attempted rape, blah blah blah, and they are not interested. And I don't know why people really haven't learned that standing for the rights of others also, in a way, you are standing for your own rights as well.
Right.
Others even commit suicide. Some girls have been known to commit suicide after being raped. Yes.
And I wanted to ask, there's, of course, some lecturers will deny if reported. Why? Because what if it is actually not true? What if it was the student offering for marks, not the lecturer asking? So that means that evidence is important.
Yes.
So why is preserving the crime scene and collecting forensic evidence so critical in these cases?
Yes.
And we could also offer some practical guidelines as UNAFRI.
Yes. Thank you very much, Canary. Yes, it's very, very important that the element you brought in, that many of the sexual crimes and offenses that take place in universities and institutions of higher learning, usually if they are not prosecuted within about 3-4 years of the occurrence of the offense, many of those offenses cases usually get frustrated in the court system. Why? Because the possible witnesses and possible people who witnessed, or even the complainants themselves, move on with their lives. Many of them eventually go for further studies, get jobs outside, and they maybe lose even interest in the case. So that's why we insist as UNAFRI, and we've been discussing this with the Uganda police, the preservation of a crime scene, forensic science, that we let forensic science take the lead in when these offenses take place, when they're suspected to have taken place. Once there is a crime, and this also goes out to the general public, that once there is a crime committed, anywhere, in any village, in any scene, be it in Kisoro, be it in Western Nile, be it in Karamoja, be it in Congo, please preserve the crime scene. Don't tamper with the crime scene until the forensic people have come in and secured the place. Yes. Please preserve the crime scene, because it will assist us, it will assist the prosecuting agencies to prosecute the matter, even when you have gone further with your studies, whether you're doing your PhD or whether you have spent 30 years, we shall catch you if you're the person who committed the offense.
In terms of preserving the crime scene,
yes.
In your own experience, why is forensic evidence often more reliable than just human testimony alone?
Yes,
in prosecution of sexual offenses?
Yes, forensic science is important because witnesses forget. Witnesses can be corrupted. Witnesses die. So we cannot rely on people. People lose memory. They forget, they are forgetful. So we cannot rely on people. So that's why I want forensic science. That's why I want these cameras to work and keep records, so that tomorrow we can bring the suspect back to the scene of crime. Even after 40 years, we can catch you.
And I could add something more. In criminal law, there is what we call corroboration of evidence. The forensic evidence is so important to corroborate the statements of the victims and the others. It adds up, and corroboration is so critical in criminal law. It's a good precursor to conviction, and everyone who wants to try any of these cases wants conviction.
And maybe to close that one, once you disrupt the forensic science, you've taken away a very big part of a criminal case. Once you disturb the crime scene, once you've taken away, for example, if there's rape, you've taken away the blood that was there, you've contaminated it, you have the semen, yes, you have washed. So we're saying, please, once you destroy that evidence, you've really destroyed your case almost 50%. Then now we go back to the corroboration that Dr. Abbas is talking about. Yes, trying to look who had Ani Amurabieko, who did this, who saw him, who had someone, a girl screaming, which doesn't really add up, can be, brings confusion in court. And our standard of proof in criminal matters is proof beyond reasonable doubt. So
what best practices has UNAFRI observed in countries that successfully investigate and prosecute sexual offences around universities?
One, we have seen relying on forensic science. Forensic science. And I want to really applaud what Uganda police is doing, Andrew Mubiru, in forensic science. And of course the IGP Abbas and his boys. They have really invested in forensic science, and I really want to thank them and support them. We were recently in Vienna. They were demonstrating the importance of forensic science. They are trying to bring mobile DNA machines, so that if you commit an offense in a far rural area where there's no electricity, no power, no what, they have their machines like a PC. You carry it, you put it there, they pick the evidence, immediately insert it there, and they will get your DNA synchronized immediately. So they have you can see them making real efforts in trying to bring forensic science to address these challenges, as you had highlighted.
Okay, I want to know what other countries, countries elsewhere are doing, and that's why I want to bring in one of the people who is supposed to be joining us, Tuminunu Oyewole Oni, who is SGBV survivor advocate. He's also head and case management department at Lagos. In Nigeria, what is it like? If you could just let us know, but also what practices have you observed in Lagos to say that you could recommend to other countries? Lagos. In Nigeria, would just let us know, but also. Yes, I can hear you. has that you could recommend to other countries?
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Would just let us know. But also,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Has that
All right.
you could recommend to other countries?
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Would just let us know. But also,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Has
All right.
you could recommend to other countries?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Would just let us know. But also,
Hello, can you hear me? I don't know if you can see. Okay. Department at Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency. And one thing I can recommend that we do here in Lagos, Nigeria, to combat issues such as, this in Nigeria is actually the establishment of an agency dedicated to fighting sexual and gender-based violence. I'm not sure many states, many countries have, an agencies such like that, but in this agency, this is all we do, this is all we attend to. And the mandate of the agency is to basically prevent and respond to cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the states and in the country. So in the bringing it to university context, we've had preventive events, preventive measures, like events that have been organized. We visited campuses. There's something called campus activation that we are currently running. The agency visited different identified campuses in the state, in Lagos State, where we basically go and sensitize people and create awareness about cases such as this, talking about consent. And I'm glad the previous speakers has really spoken about consent, talking about consent in the school system, in the university system, and when it is, and the situations that can make it not consent. I don't know if that makes sense, right? And what people can do to basically preserve the crime scene, right? Because we'll be talking about preserving the crime scene, because a lot of time, the reason is not that people don't want to preserve crime scene, it is because they are ignorant of what to do. So creating awareness around that, solves that problem, and giving people the contact to call and the nearest places to visit if they experience rape or any form of sexual abuse. And we've also trained, during the event, we always have champions.
And I think a few countries can actually learn a number of lessons as recommended by you. And we're glad that you were able to join us. Dr. Bass, I wanted to bring you in here. How can the Afro-Arab Youth Council use its networks to advocate for stronger protection of youth dignity and bodily integrity on campuses? Meanwhile, Rose Nawida, the guild president of MOOBS, is listening in. I would like to give you a mic. I've sent a mic. If you could also request for one, we'll be grateful to hear you share. So over to you, Dr. Bass.
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, through our networks, through the university chapters that we are both in Uganda and then outside Uganda, through our systems, one, we create awareness. We create awareness that young people know it's not all about it's not all well, most people assume that because it is university, people are 18 and above, therefore it is rampant. Anybody can have the sex as much as. It's not all about we must empower the young people to know sex must be consensual. If there's no consent in the sex, then it is rape, it's criminal. If it's by manipulation, it's by coercion. If it's by deception, if it's by all those other forms that make it non-consensual, like you were saying, then it falls outside what would take as the normal. Number two, even when the awareness creation is for them to know, in case it happens that way, it's a young girl has been duped. Even a young man actually can be duped into sex. I know of a case where a young man visited a girl, I'm told, in box, and the girl locked the room until about 2 o'clock. The boy couldn't leave until, so these are other things. When there's no consent, when it is non-consensual, it's criminal. When when is it, what falls outside what's provided for. Number two, what do you do? And also through our networks to encourage the universities to put up systems through which are survivor friendly. If it has happened to a student, how is she protected? We must have a system that protects the survivor or the victim. And when the system protects the victim, then they must be given support. They must be encouraged to first of all come through and speak up. After speaking up, they must be protected for what they have spoken through. In a number of cases, even why young people fear to come through and report, there's retaliation. Oh, you have done this, okay, you wait, you'll see. And somehow there's retaliation against the complainant or the survivor, and the systems don't seem to
someone has not graduated for 5 years, 6 years.
They fail to graduate. Every other time they do the exam, it's a retake. And the question is, how come it's this other, it's them to do the retake all the time? And unfortunately, Canary and my colleagues here, there are some success stories of these university relationships. You have a lecturer dating a student, they pass them through, maybe they even get married, and it deceives people that it's 70-80% positive, that we let a lot of things go under the carpet. So through our networks, we empower young people, we create awareness, advocate and lobby that institutions set up mechanisms that are they can protect survivors and also protect they are friendly to they create a friendly environment in which somebody can let through this. And three, have a watertight system through which you track and follow up the crime if it's been committed.
At this point, allow me engage Rose Nawire, who is the guild president of MUBS, that's Makerere University Business School. Rose, I want to bring you in here. You'll be able to unmute your mic. What role should guilds like the one you had play in preventing sexual offences and supporting victims at campus? What role?
Thank you.
You hear, that's why we're launching this platform. We're saying that crime prevention now, the youth being Africa has the youngest population in the world. So if you're dealing with the youth and young people, you don't come with your laws and what and dump it over them. The youth need to be engaged, as you can hear. And that's the reason we are launching this platform today. That this platform should be a platform, a space for young people to sit and engage and discuss issues and tell the policymakers that as you make your laws, you can hear the guild president saying, she brought in an element that for them sex is pleasure, and it brings in a calming element for them to move with their lives. So, which is very different from my perception of life. I wouldn't tell that to my daughter. I wouldn't. I was a parent, student. So it becomes very complicated. That these people need a space. So if you're approaching crime as a crime prevention institute, we're saying that, you know what, we need to listen to these young people, and we're going to listen to them, record what they are saying, and give it to the policymakers. Thank you.
Vienna, I wanted to ask, how can forensic awareness be made part of student orientation so that evidence is not lost immediately after an incident happens?
There must be a working relationship between the university leadership and people in charge of enforcing crimes. Because you can also understand from the submission of Madame Rose, the guild president of MUBS, that she has said at some point that when you report, they can handle it at that stage. But some crimes may not need that kind of mediation, because crime in its nature it is an infraction against the state. So the state is very much interested. So if we can work closely with authorities, with police stations at different universities, such that at the orientation stage, students are informed, such that they can clearly distinguish what is that amounts to pleasure, and what is that amounts to crime, and what is that they can report, and what is that they cannot report, what can be handled by student leadership, university leadership, and then the police.
And also that they shouldn't abuse, they shouldn't take advantage of the law. What the guild president is saying, there are two people in a relationship and it kind of goes sour, and somebody's like, no, I was raped, I was forced, I was... it's actually, she raises a very important point. This culture of management of sexual offences, I don't know, it's a big issue. I have been an RDC before, and I have a similar experience in Serere. People report sexual offences, and from police to prosecution in the courts, there's like 80% that is lost along the way. Why? There are negotiations, there is discussion, there is compensation, there is everything. Marriage, even marriage, a young girl of 17, 16 has been raped by somebody, is in the custody of police. The parents of the girl will come and say, no, she's 19, she's 18, she's already 18, even when she's young. So I agree with you. Part of the training that we are talking about, or part of the protection of the evidence, is awareness creation and training training for people to understand that really sexual offences are actually as serious. They are not an abuse of a relationship that's ongoing, but they should be prosecuted to their conclusion.
Sometimes this needs education, needs provision of information. What message of moral responsibility would you give to young students and future leaders in the Afro-Arab nations regarding consent and power?
First of all, is self-preservation. Young people must preserve themselves. If you take a decision to engage in sex early, it's also, you must be able to take the responsibility that goes with it. Like I said, there is a separation really. There are cultures, there are countries, there are systems where the day you decide that you are ready to be sexually active, it's a marriage. And Monanura's family has a daughter, Abbas's family has a son, they will match them and they will marry and then they start sex. Okay? Those are not the ones we are talking about today, because that's a bit closed. But for our other systems where people somehow end up into sex before marriage, they end up into relationships. You find the man looks for you, the one who will marry you looks for you, or you look for them, and then you come into you introduce them, blah blah blah. Largely, first of all, is self-protection and preservation, because you imagine somebody getting married at age 25 when you have gone through like 10 relationships. You get into this one, you break up. Get in with this one, you break up. You are gathering experience that you don't need to use to apply for a job or elsewhere. And you actually, the more experience you're getting, the worse it is for you, because you're going to have more expectation with wherever you settle, and you'll not even end up settling. So the moral advice really that I want to give is, we need self-preservation for young people. Of course, if you feel you are ready, all our religions have taught us that the moment a young man cannot control his gaze and you see and admire, then take a decision and make a choice and marry. Sex is more enjoyable in a more legitimate way in a marriage than when it's just a relationship ongoing, and that's the person who will take you serious. But when you jump from here to there, it becomes really difficult.
Right, Andrew, I wanted to bring you in here. What three concrete policy recommendations would UNAFRI give to African universities and governments right now to curb such offences?
Yes, first of all, put in place rules. Let these rules be known. Have rules against sexual harassment of students.
But there are no reporting mechanisms at universities.
Now, so part of the rules should include reporting mechanisms and advice, as we were saying, that like the guild president, you are saying, what are you doing as guild? Guild, create awareness. Create awareness for students to know that this constitutes an offense. And if it happens, please preserve the crime scene. if this happens, then we shall take it from there. Then the state, we now shall put pressure on the state to make sure that they prosecute these cases. But if you just if there's nothing in that is legitimately written or lawfully written for students to know, how would they know what to do? So we're saying that, institutions, please put in place rules and regulations to make sure that students that can be enforced. Because if there's no rule to be enforced, then it becomes a problem. Once people don't know what to do, it becomes a challenge. Once people don't have the knowledge and information, it becomes a challenge. How do you whatever? So put in place these rules. Yes. Number 2, enforce them. Number 3, make sure that these cases are concluded so that we eliminate these elements, these issues of stigmatization and what have you. Yes.
Just to address one more point. The government should take serious sexual health and sexual education, just as it does for the academic training of the students. You spend more money. You spend money on research, training, the lecturers, paying them, etc. There should be a budget for awareness creation, a budget for the sexual health and sexual education to the students. Let the boys know. People assume that a woman's no is not a no. Unfortunately, this is our society. Let them know that if the girl has said no, she means it, especially as far as sex is concerned. And if you go beyond the no, A, B, C, D will happen to you.
Or even if to them a no is a yes. If she has said no, just keep away.
Just know it's a no. And for that time it's a no. It can be yes elsewhere, but as far as sex is concerned, it's a no. Then also the general system, our parents. Yes, I agree. We are not coming from the same backgrounds. We are coming from different exposures, but where did our values, where did our value system go, Canary and the rest of the colleagues? Our girls used to get married when they are virgins, those days. What is happening today? Why have we parents negated on our responsibility that our girls are becoming sexually active at 13, 14, 15, and people are blaming it on poverty? I don't think so. It's partly the negligence and irresponsibility of the parents to be interested, to follow their children, to understand what they are doing, and also to support them.
Right.
I think this is important.
Vianney, lastly, what would be your direct call to students listening in today on personal responsibility, there's peer protection, but also demanding accountability?
Absolutely. Students have to hold themselves accountable. Every time they should ask themselves, where am I? Where have I come from? And where am I going? Because self-evaluation, if there is a life that is not self-examined, that life is not worth of living. Every day, hold yourself accountable. Why did I come here? What have I achieved? And where am I destined, to as an individual? So in that sense, you want to make decisions. Am I ready? If I'm a gentleman, am I ready to engage in sexual activities? Am I able to marry at this point? If I'm, a gentleman and I have got to be a father? Absolutely. Am I ready to be a father? Am I ready? If I'm a lady, am I ready to be a mother? Such that as you take those decisions, you are very much aware that the consequences can come in those different angles. But also, you have to, of course, groups are there. At universities, you get friends, and that peer influence is always so much pressing. And comes in the way that you can't differentiate which one is bad peer pressure and which one is bad peer pressure. So, at a given point, even the person you share with the room may be the one encouraging you to, engage in these acts. So, once you continue to do self-evaluation, you are able to determine what steps to take and what steps not to take.
All right. I wanted to engage Rose here, but I'll engage her in just a bit. Lastly, Andrew, as we launch this platform, how can young people across Africa actively partner with UNAFRI to turn policy into real protection and action on campuses?
Yes, thank you very much, Canary. Yes, we're calling upon different stakeholders, the young people engaged in many of these platforms and in many of these sectors dealing with the crime prevention to partner with us. We do joint trainings, we do joint research, we are partnering. For example, we are here with Abbas. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Afro-Arab youth to bring around these issues and bring them on table and influence policy. Next week, We have our next topic will be on xenophobic attacks. There are a lot of these attacks across Africa. They are not on specific South Africa, where people are scared of other people. People are so scared of other black people. Not even of foreign people. So we are bringing these topical issues that constitute crimes, that bring them on the table. We create advocacy. We create a platform, both online and, of course, we will also be conducting physical workshops on these issues to specifically target the youth, because they're our biggest population that we have. So we are really concentrating on them, that in our efforts to prevent crime, all right, to prevent crime, that these young people cannot be left out. And the approaches to crime have been evolving and changing. So this business of shouting at the young people doesn't work. We need to talk to them. We need to advise them, talk to them, engage them, hear what they have to say. I was hearing the good president of mobs talking. Really brings in another perspective of how they view sex and how they view these issues, different from us, the old horses.
And Andrew,
yes,
the young people believe that what does not involve them is not theirs.
Yes.
So you choose to direct them, but they are not with you.
Yes.
There was actually a comment here saying that there was no young person on the panel.
It's a roach.
No, we have the last guild president of Lord Government Center.
Yeah.
He's the young person here. He's still a young man. So that's why we came with him and said, no, we cannot come here. And largely for us, we're here for the launch. So we are launching the platform to give it a...
We are preparing the matoke for them. They will soon have the
platform.
Cooked matoke for them to enjoy.
Yes.
Well, the comments were many here.
Yes.
If I go through them, we might never finish.
They'll tell you there's no lady.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, some are things I cannot say on air. But there's also someone here, Rodney Bagumo, says it would be great if a student is on that panel to tell you what is on ground. We are glad, Rose.
And even Vian is not very much from
there.
Yes. Maybe in the picture here that we posted, he doesn't look. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the Big Talk, and thank you very much for your advocacy insights on crime prevention, sexual offences, consent, and power. Thank you very much. Big Talk returns tomorrow 9 to 11 in the morning. We'll be talking politics. Good evening.